All right. Good evening, leaders, visionaries, and friends. Welcome to tonight's Unfolding Capacity Virtual Leadership Masterclass. It is always a joy to see this community of leaders and aspiring leaders gather across education, business, faith, and public service, united by a shared passion for growth, influence, and transformation. At Unfolding Capacity, our mission is simple yet powerful. It is to help leaders unfold what is within them so they can shape the world around them. Through our work with businesses, organizations, and schools, and through platforms like this masterclass, we have seen leaders sharpened, institutions strengthened, and communities transformed. Since its inception, the masterclass has become more than just a virtual session. It is a movement of leaders engaging in courageous conversations, gaining practical insights, and living equipped to lead with greater clarity and confidence. Tonight, we are honored to host an exceptional guest leader, Shaun Roy Merton. Shaun is a seasoned education leader and a consultant with over 2 decades of experience driving transformation across the UK further education and South African TVET sectors. His journey spans from a classroom educator to deputy principal, overseeing 200 academic staff and 13,000 students, to national policy contributor, and now co founder of a boutique consultancy in the UK. He has led curriculum reform, improved student outcomes, advanced ed tech integration, and secured millions of pounds in funding to expand opportunities for learners and institutions. Beyond these achievements, Shaun is known for his collaborative style, his cross cultural leadership, and his passion for unlocking capacity at every level. Tonight, Shaun will speak to us on the powerful theme from imposter to influencer, overcoming imposter syndrome to lead with confidence. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a subject that resonates with so many of us because every leader at some point, and most possibly even today, has battled self doubt. Shaun will equip us with wisdom, with strategies, and encouragement to move past those doubts and to step fully into our influence. I encourage you, therefore, to lean in, to take notes, to engage actively in the chat, and to let tonight be a catalyst for your leadership journey. Fellow leaders across Africa and beyond, please join me in giving a warm, unfolding capacity welcome to our guest leader, Shaun Merton. Shaun, I'm going to leave all this to you to say, please give us your best tonight. Over to you, Shaun.
Well, amazement. What an introduction that is. And I'll be honest with you, when I look at the topic that I'm talking about today, from imposter to influencer, sitting in front or sitting, standing, I don't know how to quite describe it, with a panel of people that I've seen and that have introduced themselves, I can't other than just kind of start feeling like a bit of an imposter. But I'll do my best to share my experience and knowledge with the group. So once again, thank you very much for the opportunity. And if there's no questions, I can start.
Yes, I think maybe before you
Okay.
go deep into it, you can just let us know a little, just a little, about what you're currently doing with Meton Consulting.
Yeah, so currently there's a couple of projects that we're working on. Out of the consultancy, we're busy writing a book on leadership, which I will also just share a bit of information about at the end of it. I've had the good fortune to have had quite a number of conversations recently with local UK investors and areas that they supporting them, looking into areas where they could invest. Also, one of my former colleagues of one of the colleges is currently in the process of developing a AI grading tool. So I'm supporting him through that process. But yeah, I'm always open to other opportunities and supporting people.
Awesome. Now, this is incredible stuff. I'm just looking forward now. When you said book, I just got excited. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing all about that. But anyway, get to it and share with us what you have for us tonight.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Amazement, you'll let me know if my slides move.
They are moving perfectly well now.
Okay, great. So, I just wanted us to start with this quote. Confidence isn't the absence of doubt, it's the courage to lead anyway. I'm sure that at any point in time, we have all been in a situation where we started having self-doubt, but we had to push through. And I think that is what makes great leaders. So I'm going to just re-emphasize that confidence isn't the absence of doubt, it's the courage to lead anyway. And I kind of feel for me, this needs to be like the key theme throughout what we do this evening. Then I would like us to also move on to the next topic. And, you kind of led us into this as well. Have you ever felt like sorry, I'm just battling to see my screen over here. Uh, uh, yeah, so what I wanted to say is, have you ever felt like you don't really fit in? You don't really feel like you've achieved? So today's session is all going to be about defining imposter syndrome and the impact that it would have on leaders, also identifying your own imposter syndrome type. Then from there, we will look at providing practical strategies to build confidence. And then obviously out of that, how to also create a supportive team environment. Now, we would all ask, what is imposter syndrome? So I've got a definition that I would like to share with you. It's a psychological pattern where individuals doubt their accomplishments and fear being exposed as a fraud despite evidence of competence. And I'll be honest with you, that's something that I've struggled with in the near 20, 25 years that I've been occupying various leadership roles. And one of the a number of key characteristics that would, which we can use to identify imposter syndrome is the following: the inability to internalize success, the persistent fear of being found out, attributing success to external factors such as charm, luck, uh, chronically comparing yourself to others and what they've achieved, also difficulty accepting praise. And I think one of the areas that I myself am quite guilty of is over preparation or procrastination. So there's a number of different common imposter syndrome types. So the perfectionist, the expert, the soloist, the superhero, and then the natural genius. So I'm going to just pause there for a minute, and I'd like to just ask everyone to just kind of take that in and decide which one of those types of imposters they feel more aligned to, if any. So just going to give you about 60 seconds to pause, think about it, and then I will explain them in more detail to you. And then we can once again just look at, do you still feel that you align yourself to that? Yeah,
Interesting. The comments, someone says that I think I'm 4 out of the 5.
that's pretty impressive. I think we, to a certain extent, we all tend to tick some of the boxes. But yeah, that's really good engagement. Thank you for that, guys. So I think that's the 60 seconds up. So let's look at what this all entails. So the perfectionist is never quite satisfied with their works. In other words, they constantly try and reinvent it, redo it, because they don't trust their own ability. The expert needs to know everything before starting. And as we know that if we want to know everything before we start something, we'll never really start something. Then we've got the soloist, believe they must do everything on their own. And I think, one of the mistakes that I've seen many managers make, and I'll differentiate between leaders and managers, is that they tend to believe they need to do everything because there's a level of trust, there's an issue with trust. Then you've got the superhero that kind of believes that they can carry the entire load by themselves and they overwork themselves to prove self-worth or to prove their own worth to other people. And then the last one, but not the least, is the natural genius. It's a person that feels shame when they're struggling. And this normally happens when people tend to be very confident and very experienced, and suddenly they come across something new that they've not dealt with before, and they're suddenly in a situation where they're struggling and they don't know what to do. And I'll be very honest with you, I spent 20 years working in the TV sector in South Africa, and to a certain extent, I would say that I became overly confident. Then, having moved over to the UK early 2022, I came over with that confidence of having done this and moving back and into education for a period of time, and then suddenly finding out systems are different. So that was something that I struggled with a little bit. So, as someone mentioned earlier, they can see four out of the five types in themselves. I can probably tick all five of the boxes at any given moment. Now, I'm sure we've all heard of the term gaslighting. Now, what I want to do tonight is also do a comparison between imposter syndrome on the one side and the fear of gaslighting on the other side. So you'll see it is the internal doubt versus external concern. So the two actually very much play in a person's psyche. So on the one hand, we've got imposter syndrome, where there's a constant internal struggle focused on the person itself. You undermine your own reality. And examples of this would be, I only got this promotion because I got lucky. And, I'll be honest, that's something that I've struggled with quite a lot in my life. Then on the other side, fear of gaslighting, where there's concerns with external focus of others, worrying about unintentionally invalidating someone else's feelings. And examples of that would be something like, oh, well, that's not really a big deal, is it? So it's something I feel really we need to focus on as leaders. As you can see, both stem from heightened self-awareness. A leader with imposter syndrome may be so focused on their own perceived shortcomings that they fail to validate others' experiences. And that is critical. We always need to validate other people's experiences. But also conversely, fear of gaslighting can lead to over-explaining or overcorrecting, which may come across as dismissive. So I feel that is really critical that we have a look at that. Now, obviously, if we look at imposter syndrome, it will have an impact on a person's leadership because self-doubt always holds a person back. Now, certain impact that you could find on your leadership style or your leadership approach, you could become quite poor at delegation. So, in other words, you would end up micromanaging because you don't really trust people. On top of that, missed opportunities. In other words, you would be hesitating to take on new challenges. And, fortunately in my life, that's one of the areas that I've never really struggled with. I've always been willing to take on new challenges. And sometimes I'll be honest with you, to my own detriment, where I end up juggling way too many things and need to try and achieve something in a very short space of time. But yeah, we all have our shortcomings, I believe. One of the other areas that we always need to have a look at is burnout. It's critical that you don't overwork yourself so that you can prove your self-worth and worth to other people. Also, once you start self-doubting yourself, you will stifle innovations. In other words, you would always tend to fall back on the tried and tested. You wouldn't be willing to try new things. And, as leaders, we all know that we quite often need to adjust, adapt, and kind of reset where we are. And, once again, I love quotes, and this is also another quite important one for me. You can't inspire others if you are constantly questioning your own worth. Now, pointing out flaws in a person's makeup would not be useful if I don't also come with strategies to address and to overcome imposter syndrome. The first one is having a look at a mindset shift where you move from a fixed approach to a growth approach. So we'll have a look there. Fixed mindset, my abilities are set in stone. So in other words, you will never improve, you will never grow, you will never become better. You will always just be the current version of yourself, and you will never really become the best version of yourself. When you look at the growth mindset, I can improve through effort and learning. And I think one of the key things when it comes to leadership is you need to be a lifelong learner. You always need to be able to look at what other people are doing, how other people are improving themselves, looking at new leadership strategies for that matter. And for me, one of the action tips would be reframe your thoughts. Instead of I'm not good at this, just say to yourself that I'm still learning. And one of the key people within that growth mindset shift is a lady called Carol Dweck. She's done major research in that area. And I mean, I would suggest that you guys look her up and maybe see if you can get hold of the book or just maybe have a look at something that she's written recently. There's some really good work and some really good content in that. strategy too, I strongly believe is for me is one of the key things. Document your success because people tend to not always be very good at talking about successes. They kind of keep it to themselves. They don't talk about it. That's why, to a large extent, I would suggest that you create a brag box. In other words, talk about positive feedback that you've given. Write down successful outcomes. I would suggest if you feel down at the end of the day, write down what you've achieved. Even if it's the smallest possible thing out there, just write down something that you've achieved because the next day you will build on that, you will grow further. Also, award recognition. And if people want to award you or reward you or recognize you for what you've done, accept that recognition. It's really critical that you do that. Whatever wins you've got, once again, put it down in that brag book. Make sure that you log it so that that can motivate you and push you further forward. Also, what I would suggest in that brag book, it would be critical to write down moments of courage because we all, at some point in time, report to someone else. Now, in quite often, we have a situation where you sometimes feel that the person that you report to, you can't really approach them about everything. And I think personally, it's key that when you muster the courage to speak to someone, or you speak up about something, that you record that so that at a later stage, when you once again feel like you're not really achieving, you can go back and say, no, but wait a second. At this day, on this day and time, I actually did something fantastic. I stood up for myself. I stood up for the team. So I would really suggest things like that gets recorded. And the reason why this brand book works is because it will counter negative self-talk and it will show you tangible evidence. So in other words, when you feel down, when you feel that you're not achieving, you can go back to you can go back to this document and you would be able to see, oh, yes, but I have achieved that. And I strongly believe that's something that would be and that would pick up most people. That's something that I personally do. Also, I believe one of the key things is the power of community and amazement, seeing the number of people that have joined in so far and the regular nature of this. The key thing is people should, the key thing would be the power of community. You are never alone. And that's why it's so critical. Connect with mentors, peers, and trusted colleagues. If you've got any challenges, discuss it with them. There will always be a ear or a shoulder to cry on. And
Back screen in the selfie app. Your camera permissions are enabled. The other app of your phone. Be sure you have the latest.
Uh, and there's nothing wrong with being vulnerable because when you share, you build trust. Because if you're in a position to share something that you feel vulnerable about, you will more than often than not find out that that person that you're sharing this with will come back to you and say, Shaun, I really appreciate what you shared with me. I'm now in a position to be able to share the following with you, which I never thought I'd be able to share with anyone. So that for me is critical. And quite often, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big coffee drinker, but there's a lot of people out there that enjoy their coffee. Schedule a coffee chat with a mentor, ask them about their experience, and explain to them that you're experiencing a level of self-doubt. And people will tend to be there and they would support you. I mean, if we just once again look at the quote that I've got at the bottom of the screen, connection is the antidote to self-doubt. Now, one of the key areas that I would also suggest that we need to focus on is fostering a supportive team strategy and a supportive team. And one of the key ways that one can achieve that is by leading with empathy. Create psychological safety. Encourage questions and uh, also encourage people to admit when they've made a mistake. Celebrate the process. Acknowledge effort and acknowledge growth. And something I think a lot of people are very afraid of doing, normalize imperfection. You will find quite often that things won't be done perfectly. You will find everyone makes a mistake. And it's critical for us to all be able to grow that you share these challenges and you explain to people how they've overcome it. Because you will more than likely find when you share this with someone, this would help them in the future because they would be like, okay, this is how Sean's done it. This is how Bob's done it. This is how Tabu's done it. And I can learn from that. And it's critical that we learn from our own mistakes, but we also learn from each other's mistakes. Now, you'll note that I've left quite a lot of time for us to discuss things. So, right at the end, it's critical that you take a journey to authentic leadership. Imposter syndrome is common. It's not something that's strange, but it is something that is manageable. Very key message for me. Your value isn't defined by perfection. It's shaped by your courage and resilience. And out of today's session, I would like each and every one of you, if you feel that that you're suffering from imposter syndrome, that you choose one of these strategies that I've shared with you today and apply it. Come back to us and let us know if it worked for you. If that strategy didn't work for you, maybe there's another strategy that could be better for you. And I almost want to end with another quote in which I say, "You are not an imposter. You're a work in progress, and that is powerful." Amazement, I'd like to just pause at this point.
Wow. You moved quite quick, and there's just so much to digest from what you just said. Thank you so much, Sean, for
That's
sharing.
my pleasure.
Uh, I have a couple of questions, but there's one question, and this is a leader in ed tech, right? So he asked the question. He says, how do you teach growth mindset to learners or students?" And I think he was inspired by one of the things that you said of growth mindset from fixed mindset. So then he said, how do we teach that to learners or students? And I want to say that when you were speaking, I noticed something that you're very practical in your insights and in your strategies. So I'm sure you have some strategies that are very practical for this, because this is one of the challenges of today's students, especially within the world of AI and all that is made available with tech.
Yeah, amazement. Thank you for that. It's critical for me. I try and emphasize with my students always that it's critical to grow. One shouldn't stay in one position because otherwise you will just become stagnant. I know that there's a saying that a leopard will never change its spots. It will only move from one spot to another spot. So for me, I try and always instill a level of courage within my students, trying to get them to try new things, kind of step outside their comfort zone. That's what I normally tend to motivate my students. I tend to tell them, okay, every day try something new. Every day do a little bit of research on something new, because every day is a school day. That's always been my approach. And as a person, that's how I approach life as well. Every day I read something new. Every day I try and find out something new. So that would kind of be my approach. And like we'll see what you've mentioned about AI. I think one of the key things with AI is there's a lot of opposition within education to stop students from using AI. I personally feel that we really need to move away from that perception and that point of view. We strongly need to teach students how to use AI, teach them how to use it responsibly, and also teach them about the ethics of using AI.
Wow. Right there, we just ended now on the attitude towards the use of AI. I remember one session I attended, and I can't remember. I think, yeah, the professor's Professor Sharon McPherson, and she was mentioning that AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere, and the world is changing, and if we don't adapt to it, we'll remain behind. And I think that is sort of funny enough what is happening in the education field, where education or it's the one that is much more resistant to the progress in AI than any other industry, which is quite fascinating. And I think I listened to the former Vice Chancellor of UCT, Prof. Pakeng, Mama Kheti Pakeng. She spoke recently and she made a message to leaders in education saying that let us find a way to teach students and to communicate content with them such that they're able to use AI effectively and not see it as an enemy. And as you're saying, Sean, she really instilled that mental that we must not see it as an enemy, but see it as a tool and also teach, find better ways to teach and to inspire the desire to learn amongst those who teach.
Yeah.
So what you've just said now, you just sparked that. But yeah,
Amazing,
yes.
amazing. Just maybe to add to what you were saying, there's a saying that my dad taught me many, many years ago, and he asked me, "Why do we not have dinosaurs anymore?"
Mm,
And I said to him, "No, I'm not too sure. There might be a number of reasons." And he said to me, it's really, truly very simple." And I said, "Sure, okay, share that with me." And he told me they didn't adapt.
wow.
They couldn't adapt to the changes. And I kind of feel that if people with an education don't adapt and adjust their perceptions and perspectives, they're going to go the direction of dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And just maybe to also, just to close, like give a last little bit of a opinion on it, is if we go back to the 1970s. I mean, I'm not too I'm not too sure about the ages of the people listening in today, but if we go back to the 70s, that was the start of the use of calculators.
Mm,
And, there was a lot of opposition at that point in time in the 70s against calculators. And there was a lot of people that said, no, a calculator will never catch on.
mm,
And I mean, what do we see right now? So it's all about adapting. It's all about pivoting and moving in a different direction, and
mm,
seeing when kind of adapting to when we're beaten. If we're beaten, we need to pivot. We need to move.
mhm. Wow. Yeah. But yeah, that's an interesting question. Interesting insight. Heaven, you had a question. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Sean. I think it has been a good session. I've learned a few things, and particularly, I was not really aware of some of the traits of imposter syndromes that you mentioned. That I sort of have those, so I just thought those were my strength rather. But it's just interesting to sort of expose one to this understanding so that one can know how to actually use them to their best ability, and also to sort of open up themselves to making a change of habits. But I think my question is just around your movement from working at the schools to now being an advisor in the UK, right? I think that's sort of an example of someone who uh, did not really let imposter syndrome to sort of limit how much they think about what they can become, right? So maybe just my question was just around you taking us like a journey of how did you go from becoming like a school teacher to a school leader to now becoming the advisor that you are today.
Evan, thank you very much. If you asked me this question probably 5 years ago, I would go about telling you it's all about luck and being given chances. It does play a role. It really does play a role. I mean, I started out in education 2004 within the then further education sector. A lot of people at that point in time told me, "Why do you even bother working in that sector?" And I said, "Well, I've got a passion for education. I've got a passion to help and support people, and this is what I'd like to do." And I said to them, "Give me 3 years. After 3 years, I'll see where I'm at that point in time. If I haven't achieved anything, if I haven't grown anyway, I'll just kind of look at a different career." And I'll be honest with you, during the 3 years, this uh, education, kind of lived, I don't know how to explain it, became ingrained in me. And I was fortunate to then become a senior lecturer. From a senior lecturer, quite quickly, I went on to become head of a department. I was fortunate, and that's the imposter syndrome coming through again. I'm sure you'll pick it up in the way that I speak. Uh, Talking about being fortunate, and kind of neglecting hard work. Uh, yeah, eventually I was fortunate enough to become a deputy principal at a TVET college, with, approximately about 13,000 students, a couple of hundred staff members. Was given an opportunity to then work in national government, where I had the responsibility to develop policies for continuous professional development. Two of the policies that I authored eventually got signed into law. Then my partner came to me and she said there's an opportunity for her career growth to move to the UK. And I said to her, let's go for it. And like I said, I've always been one for a challenge. I think my family has always kind of looked at me as like, Sean, maybe you should stop taking on so many challenges. And I just like, no, otherwise I think I'm going to get bored. So then moved over to the UK. And I'll be honest with you, I'm still teaching. I rushed from my classroom, which I finished at 4:45 UK time, rushed over home so that I can join the session because I don't like being bored. Consulting for me at this point in time is something that I do in addition to my teaching and my st own studies that I do. So I don't sit still. I don't get, one of the worst things for me is getting bored. So I tend to always keep myself involved in something. I looked, and maybe to answer the question, how did I get into, how did the entire consulting thing come in? I started looking at what people do and what other people do, and I wasn't necessarily always in agreement with what they did, their perceptions, their point of view, directions that they're taking, and I kind of felt that I needed an opportunity to give my own voice to things. And getting into consulting gives you that, gives you an opportunity to speak to people and give them your insight based on your experience. And then obviously allowing people to choose what they take out of what you tell them and the way that you support them and see them grow. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, one of my former colleagues is developing an AI tool that will grade exam papers. So we're currently busy going through the testing phase, and we're hoping that within the next 2 to 3 months that will be available. And then, I'd love for management to give me an opportunity to come and share that maybe again with you guys.
Wow.
Just say amen.
Yeah, I'm sure the teachers are excited about that part because, yeah, that'll really
I
be.
can just imagine.
Yeah, because I think miking takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of energy for teachers. So that AI tool, man, it will really help a lot. It will help a lot. I'm sure the teachers are saying amen that are here. We have a lot of them. I think after what you just said, you see, I was listening to you speak about imposter syndrome, and I thought, can one say that imposter syndrome is toxic humility? And and if whatever the answer of that is, the next question would be how can leaders distinguish between healthy humility and unhealthy self-doubt that holds them back? Because I think in writing this community where we are today, with all the people that are here, that those who are capable of doing much more than what they are doing now, capable of serving at a higher level than where they're serving now, but they're also still holding themselves back, some because of possibly toxic humility or imposter syndrome. And some of them, they're just not sure where they are, but they want to go further. They've got their hunger to go further, but they just don't know how to balance the two. So, is there a way to distinguish between healthy humility and unhealthy self doubt? And how can a leader do that to help themselves do better? And then, while you're answering that, I'm just going to give everyone who's here as well an opportunity to say, please feel free to note your question down onto the chat room or just lift your hand, say hi to Sean, and give a comment or a question. Thank you. Sean, over to you.
Thanks, amazement. Yeah, look, I think a certain level of self-doubt is always healthy because we need to. It's always for me. I want to have, I almost want to compare it to walking a tightrope. On the one side, you've got, like you phrased it, a toxic humility, and the other side, you've got arrogance. And neither one of those two sides is healthy for leadership. So it's constantly being able to balance yourself between having a certain level of self-doubt, but also having, and I don't want to call it arrogance, but a certain level of confidence, because some people are very arrogant, but some people are just confident in their ability. So I strongly feel it's very much a balancing act. It's making sure that there is a certain level of self-doubt, but there's also the confidence that you know what you're talking about, that you really know your subject content or your field, and that you don't need to stand back for anyone.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a tightrope, as you said, like working on a tightrope. It's funny enough, I think I'm definitely sure I struggle with imposter syndrome. I'm definitely sure about that. So yeah, this really gonna I'm gonna have to go through the notes of what is shared over and over again because yeah, it's a challenge for me. But there's a comment here by Kennedy, and he says, in commenting on growth mindset, he said, growth mindset is contagious. Your growth and trust in your abilities motivates the next person to want to follow your footsteps and grow as well. Now, following that, my question would be how can leaders model confidence in a way that inspires their teams without coming across as arrogant?
Wow, yeah, quite a difficult question, and I don't believe there's any simple answer to it. I think it's once again it's the difference between what a leader is and what a manager is. I think a leader is a person that would always support the people that would report to them or their team. I mean, many leaders don't talk about reporting structures; they talk about team. So I kind of feel that as a leader, it is critical that you talk to your colleagues. I wouldn't want to call them subordinates, your colleagues, about your own growth journey. And if you show them your own growth journey, they would become passionate about their own as well. I mean, I look at my wife and her approach. She's one of those people. She's a leader that she's not afraid of sharing with other people. Um, a lot of other people that I've seen in my life, they want to kind of keep their little kingdom, their little domain, show people that, the only one that can do that. What she does is everyone that reports into her, she goes and she develops them so that they can step up to her level. Not so that she can move on to another level, but that she grows people around her. And a lot of what I've seen in leadership are kind of model based on her. I don't know if that fully responds to the question posed, Amazement.
Yeah, it's quite it's quite interesting how it's just said that, and also taking from what your partner does as well, uh, as an inspiration as well, to just being able to inspire that confidence from the people that you lead. Uh, Talking about that, when you before you close, you spoke on leading with empathy, right? And you spoke on that. You made a statement that says, in fact, yeah, I think it was before that. A question and statement that says connection is the antidote to self-doubt. Connection is the antidote to self-doubt. And I thought, would you mind just elaborating a little on that? Connection is the antidote to self-doubt. Because sometimes, and I'm saying this because you got people sometimes who are on LinkedIn, right? And when you're on LinkedIn, you find yourself with connection with all these people. And recently I had a conversation and my wife was saying that she logged on to LinkedIn because shared a post that I thought she could benefit from. And she said, gosh, after I logged into LinkedIn, I got depressed because everyone seems like to be going far miles ahead of me, and I'm not. So, and Brandon here says that connection is the antidote to self-doubt. Please just expand on that and how that works to actually improve uh, confidence or self-esteem on leaders.
Yeah, look, I think if we kind of, yeah, I'm just trying to think, of a real world example that we can discuss this in. Look, I think one of the key things would be if you kind of isolate yourself, and you only see your own shortcomings, your own challenges, you tend to create a lot of self-doubt because there's no one else around you to tell you and give you that pat on the back to say, no, Shaun, you've done really well today. Bob, you've done fantastically well. This is good. You've really done really well. But if you isolate yourself, there's no one that can come and pick you up. I think for some people it's very difficult, and most people it's very difficult to pick themselves up. And that's why you need to have connection. That's why you need to have community. People that can be around you and they can see that, okay, Shaun's quite depressed today. We don't really know exactly what's going on in his life, but let's just go and say to him like, you know, I've seen your class today. It was really good. Or, um, yeah, I really like your shoes. Something like that. Something as trivial as just commenting on someone's outfit, someone's shoes, asking them about how their day was, how their family is doing. It might not even be something that this person is specifically struggling with. It's just literally connecting. And I think having grown up in Africa, and I'll always see myself as an African, is the concept of Ubuntu. Um, and I and it's one thing that I've been battling to explain to people in the UK what Ubuntu actually is. And that community spirit, that connection that we always have with each other. And that just builds bridges, that builds a person up. I mean, I've had days where I've walked into office and been like, yeah, I don't know, I don't think this day's going to work out for me. And then someone just said, hey, Shaun, how are you doing today? And then suddenly you've forgotten about what made you depressed. You kind of forgot what you were concerned about. You forgot about what was worrying you. And that slight distraction kind of kicks your brain into a different direction. And these coffee chats, I think, can really be very successful.
Wow. Yeah, no, you placed it well. You placed it well, and I like it. I think, funny enough, we mentioned uh, trying to teach people in the UK Ubuntu, and where I'm sure the culture there is very individualistic, right? And you're trying to
Yeah,
teach
quite.
connection and that we can be when we are together and when we are connected. But interesting, you say you moved that side in 2022, and I can hear now from how you speak, and that the accent is catching up with you. So yeah, you might need to come back soon.
Yeah. Sadly, I haven't been back to Africa in 2 years. So yeah, I'll have to make a plan.
Yeah, yeah, you might have to make a plan.
Yeah. I mean, people specifically from South Africa would know I'm craving pap and vleis right now.
We all are.
It's Heritage Month, so and we're gonna have that Braai holiday very soon. So
Oh gosh, I'm so envious.
all right, there's a comment here by Poppy, and I think Poppy, do you mind just unmuting your mic to just elaborate further on this one? Saying that a lot of time dictatorship is misinterpreted as leadership from lack of leading with empathy and emotional intelligence. Poppy, would you mind just unmuting yourself and express yourself better so that I can hear you, but I want to get the full gist of what you're saying.
Hi, thank you, Amazement. Hi, everyone.
Hi
Um,
there.
I caught the presentation late, but I caught up to it. And the reason why I'm saying that is I'll give an example with myself. I work in the Defense Force. And a lot of the times, people think that if you dictate things, you mentioned something very important that your wife leads in a manner where I don't need to be the one, or I don't need to be the one who's always coming up with the ideas in order for an idea to be successful and for the team to move forward. So if you bring an idea, if I feel if I see it as valuable enough, I grow it, implement it, and also it encourages you as a person, as a subordinate. But a lot of the times we have leaderships that or leaders that feel if you bring an idea, it means it's not yours, it's mine. I take ownership of it, and it has nothing to do with you because you're a subordinate. But also, we have those leaders that feel I'm the boss. Everybody hears what I say. I'm the one who's always correct. I know better than everyone else. And in turn, it always leaves people that are beneath you or underneath you as subordinates, not seeing you as a leader, but rather a dictator. And they tend to think that if they fear you in the workplace, that it means you are a great boss, not looking at how much it breaks the institution itself, because then there's no communication, there's no form of community, there's actually no Ubuntu or people first in that space. And that's basically what I mean. So a lot of the times people that are like that are not as confident. They lack emotional intelligence, they lack interpersonal skills, and they also don't know how to lead with empathy because they always feel they're entitled to be above the next person instead of saying that we can work together to actually build a bigger, better team.
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree more. And I'm going to throw another quote out there. But if there's no I in team,
Mm,
and people tend to forget that. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's really corny. But here's another one. If we look at the word team and we break it down to an acronym, the T means something, the E means something, the A means something, and the M means something.
mm,
Ultimately, because I'm sure everyone's heard, together, everyone achieves more.
oh, mm,
And if you've gone and you've developed the people that work within your team, uh, it's a stronger team, it's a more successful team. And I'll be honest, I don't have much time for managers that fear, manage through fear rather than empathy.
mm.
Wow. Thank you, Poppy. I think you highlighted something that is powerful, and I'm glad you just puts it nicely there, Shaun, saying that together everyone achieves more. As simple team, what team is. Uh, we are about to close, Shaun, and um, before I make this comment, if you have a question or a comment, please feel free to put on the chat room or just click the hand button on your Zoom, and then we're going to give you the platform, or just unmute in the meantime. But I want to ask Shaun, right? We've got leaders here in education from different levels, right? Some are HODs, some are principals, some are circuit managers, and the whole South African hierarchy thing. So uh, you have moved, right, from all this classroom teacher to eventually consultant influencing national policy. How did you build confidence through those transitions where, when everyone, and with every stage that you move towards, you move as the best and you get to the next stage and then you're at the list level. You move at the best up and then you get the next level as a list, uh, at the list position. How did you build confidence through those transitions, even to doing what you do now? I'm sure Heaven asked something similar earlier, but I think can you express that in a way that would make sense to fellow educators who are here and fellow leaders in education who might feel like I can do more, but I feel stuck in a position that I am. I feel like I've reached the top as a principal or as a deputy principal, and I don't know how to transition from where I am to where I could be.
Yeah, amazement. Look, the one way that I would look at it is we always need to look at what is next, and we need to have a plan. And if you don't have, there's also another saying, um, fail to plan and then plan to fail. So it's critical that if you want to grow, you need to set yourself targets. You need to say to yourself, I mean, I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. My career started out where a lot of people were critical about my choice of direction. And I said to them, okay, 3 years, after 3 years, I'll see where I am. After 3 years, I was in a position to be promoted to a senior lecturer. So I kind of feel that always just having a plan and being organized. And like I said earlier, having a healthy level of self-doubt on the one hand, but also confidence in your own ability. I think that's the key thing. Planning, set yourself targets and objectives, and also having confidence in your own ability. Because if you're not even confident in your own ability, how can you expect anyone else to be confident in your ability?
A statement. If you don't have confidence in your own ability, how do you expect those you lead to have confidence in your ability? Uh, what what a way to end it. We have for those who are in the group in the meeting, on the chat room, we have put a form, a link to a form. Please click it after the session and then fill in your details so that you can get the rest of the materials, even a copy of this slideshow um, from tonight's session, and be able to get reminders as well with our next session. Shaun, you wanted to end off powerfully with an expression on the next book, on the book that you are writing. And I think with a nice message that you can leave with leaders here from different walks of life, and with saying an activity that they can do this week and up until next week, Thursday, just to get themselves out of this imposter syndrome. I already like the Bragg book. The Bragg book. I think I'm gonna try that one.
Thanks, Amazement. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I'm busy writing a book. Well, I've actually been involved in writing quite a few of them. I've had a few published, but not within the field of leadership. So the plan is to have my new book, The Leadership Playbook, available for the festive season 2025. It'll look at actionable strategies for building strong, resilient teams. It'll give insight into leadership styles and when to use them. It'll also provide tools for navigating conflict, change, and uncertainty, which I think in this day and age we all deal with extensively. It'll also have a couple of personal stories and lessons that I've learned from my own leadership journey. And the reason why I feel this book would matter is whether you're leading a team, a community, or yourself, this book will help you lead with clarity, confidence, and compassion. And, that links very well, I feel, with what we spoke about earlier about empathy. As I've mentioned a little bit earlier as well, I think what would be ideal is if everyone that attended tonight who feels that they can identify some of the characteristics of imposter syndrome in them, that they look at one of the three strategies and see how they can apply that to overcome their own imposter syndrome. Like you said, the Bragg book, that's one that I personally myself used.
Coffee chats.
And the coffee chats.
And the coffee chat. Well, for me, it's a Coke chat because I don't drink coffee.
Did you just say Coke chat? That is.
Yeah, well, it's the drinking type. I just need to be clear on that one.
They have to be drinking.
Yeah.
Coffee or Coke, whatever, there has to be drinking. Got it. Got it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I live in the UK now, so a lot of it's tea,
Tea.
as
Oh,
you can
God.
imagine.
Oh, yeah, you must be tired of that.
I'm telling you.
Oh, wow. Everyone, I hope you're filling in the form, but Shaun, I want to say thank you so much for a perfect presentation and for just the engagement that we just had and on leadership and just overcoming imposter syndrome. On behalf of the Unfolding Capacity family, I want to sincerely thank you for tonight's powerful session titled From Imposter to Influencer, Overcoming Imposter Syndrome to Lead with Confidence. Um, Shaun, your authenticity and wisdom have inspired us to step boldly into influence and to lead with courage. To all of you who joined us, thank you for showing up and participating. Your engagement is what makes this platform so impactful. Together, we are building a movement of leaders ready to grow, to influence, and to transform society. Before we close, I'm going to ask you to please take a few minutes to complete our feedback and registration form using the link that has been provided in the chat, because your feedback is invaluable. It helps us improve and ensures we continue bringing your world, or it rather ensures that we continue to bringing you world-class leadership conversations. Please don't stop here. Stay connected with Unfolding Capacity. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're gonna get the latest masterclass there. Latest replay. We're gonna upload this card tonight's session as well before the end of the weekend. So you're gonna get it as well. Also, join our WhatsApp community. Now, we've just opened a WhatsApp channel, which is easy. So you don't have to send us your numbers. You just go onto WhatsApp and search Unfolding Capacity on channels. You're going to find it. You just follow, and then you're going to get all updates. You're going to get your newsletters. You're going to get sessions from previous sessions. You're going to get presentations. You're going to get all these copies that can help you get better, and you also get invites and links for the next meeting. I also want to encourage you to follow us on Instagram for inspiration and highlights. Finally, I'd love to connect with you personally, so please reach out to me, Amazement Titus, on LinkedIn, and let us keep the conversation going and continue unfolding capacity together. Until we meet again, remember, leadership is not about perfection, but about the courage to lead with confidence. Keep unfolding your capacity. Good night and thank you. And thank you very, very much for joining us tonight. On Monday, we have powerful session with Prof. Culture Power, the head of science bodies in South Africa. So please make sure that you are part of that session, 7 p.m. sharp on Monday, the 22nd of September. You're going to find the details as well on our WhatsApp channel that we already have developed. Please just make sure you click and follow and subscribe. Thank you very, very much, and good night to all of you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.